Lovelies, welcome back to this channel. If you're new here, my name is Belinda Strana. Thank you so much for all the love and support. Don't forget to please subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so that anytime I upload videos, you will be the first person to be notified. To my returning subscribers, to those people that share my videos, leave commentaries, and also educate each and every one of us. You guys are the real MVP. Alright, lovelies, let's dive into today's video. So lovely, I came across this video on my For You page on TikTok, and I thought to share with you guys where these pan-colored people, decided that it was actually time for them to share their own history. Like, it all started with a particular, pan-colored man talking about how rape and seas and slavery and all of that is not a thing. I'm just going to roll it, as well as some of other stitches I was able to put together. Please leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video. And please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. We are just here for educational and informative purposes. Alright, lovelies, let's dive into it.
Being called racist is not something I've ever been called in my life, and it's a little disheartening because, like I said, where I'm from, it's just not a thing,
Gotta stop you right there, Deputy Crow. Before I jump into this, I'm gonna explain to you what you just said. You've never been called that, and where you're from, it's not a thing. It's not a thing for you where you're from. You can look through this playlist for a video called Decentering, and that might help. We can come back to that if we need. The reason we're here today is you made a list of ways you like to mess with civilians while you're doing your job as a public servant.
This is gonna piss you off. It's so much fun. We pass each other like such. I like to hit my brakes. Get the blood flowing. You know what I'm talking about? Really, I'm helping you out, if you think about it. Figured I'd let you in on a couple of, fun things that I like to do. Are we just fucking with you?
Also, it was really gross that later on, after you took the videos down, you said, I took the videos down personally, they didn't win.
No, I didn't get fired. No, they didn't win.
So let's talk about the history of your job. You chose this job, and in America there are 700 to 800,000 people who do that job every day. Ish. Hard to keep track, you guys won't hold still when we count. Now that being said, I'm sure there are dozens of good ones. You probably think you're one of the good ones, don't you? Let's just jump back in time to what your job originated as, okay? In 1865-ish, again, America's real lax with this kind of history and dates, so. Your job used to either be patrols or catchers. That was your job. Ultimately, it morphed into what you do today as a living. Here's what some of those responsibilities were. Your job was to capture runaways, to prevent revolts, to enforce laws restricting enslaved people's movements. That is what your job was at its core when it started. It didn't even have the title that it has today until around 1838 in Boston, where the very first change happened, let's call it. It was modeled after the British system, which really just started a few years earlier in 1829. This was really the change from it being volunteer and informal to publicly funded and organized. 1845 rolls around, New York gets their first one. 1851 rolls around, Chicago gets its first PD. Probably notice there's some in-between time between 1865 and 1838, right? So it didn't become this role until 1865. This was really the start of the formality in 1838, but there was some lead time in between there where it started to kind of take shape. Things take time. Let's blow past that to 1865, where we get what's called Act Codes starting. During what's called the Reconstruction era, it was your job to enforce these black codes. You might be wondering what a black code is. Don't worry, I had time. A couple examples were curfews. It was your job to enforce curfews, specifically for black people, hence the name. Also, yearly labor contracts. African Americans were often required to sign yearly labor contracts to white landowners or their employers. If they refused or failed to fulfill the contract, they would be fined or forced into unpaid labor. It was also the job to prohibit occupations of certain types for certain people. Again, we're talking about black codes specifically. I'll let you guess what people we're talking about. It was your job to prevent land ownership, specifically limits to land ownership that people could have if they were African American. Vagrancy was another thing. It was your job to enforce vagrancy. This one here is called apprenticeship, and it might be the most sinister. African American children who became orphans were forced into labor. It was their job to go to work, and it was your job to enforce that. Fast forward to the mid-1800s, we move to what's called Jim Crow era, where you enforce more things. It's your job to enforce the suppression of boating. Speaking of that, make sure you go to this website here and make sure your boating registration is still active. It's also your job to suppress civil rights protests. Hear that. It was your job to stop people from trying to get rights that are civil rights. It was your job to stop that. I know, you're one of the good ones, I heard. One more of the things was racial etiquette. It was your job to enforce people to yield to whites on the sidewalk and to address white people with proper deference. I had to look up what deference means. You ready? It is to speak to someone with humble submission and respect. Now, all of that being said, if you can't see why messing with people is so far away from the necessities of your role or the need as a person who is white to correct the actions of other whites, specifically these because it's the job you chose, then I don't know what to tell you, man. You don't seem empathetic in your responses. That's why I DM'd you and told you to turn your comments on. You read it, you didn't. You don't seem sincere in your apology because, again, you said,
No, they didn't win.
and I know Massac County is aware of your actions. I don't know why people keep getting this job and not taking it with all sincerity. You have one of the only jobs where you can do what you just did online and on social media and then still retain employment with that employer. Somebody talks crazy to a customer at McDonald's, they're getting unemployed. Yet you still get to keep your job after not only that video, but making multiple previous videos talking about different interactions you've had with civilians. You need to do better. That's the honest ending to this. You just need to do better. You have extremely problematic responses, you have knee-jerk actions and sentences, which tells me that you're not fully equipped to do the role which you chose. The role that you chose.
So this guy is telling basically how cops started in America as slave patrols and slave catchers, and how, you know, it's different now and this, that, and the other. But my argument would be actually that cops never stopped slavery or slave patrols. They're on slave patrols currently right now. They're doing it every fucking day because America never actually banned slavery. We thought we did, but we didn't. If you actually read the wording, it's right here. It says, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime wherever or whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist with the United States. So it says, because these are commas, basically might as well be parentheses, but it says, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude shall exist within the U.S. Except, so that just erases everything. Everything you just said. There shall not be any slavery in America, except as a punishment for crime. So for criminals, they'll make a criminal. What you think that's fine. Who gives a fuck? They're criminals. They're pieces of shit. They're like the bottom of society. They deserve to be slaves because they're criminals. So let me just make sure you keep that thought process, because what happened is after they, let all the slaves go, they freed the slaves or whatever, there was a whole bunch of black people that were just kind of standing around. They didn't really have any place to go or a place to be or a thing to do. They didn't own property. They didn't have a job. So they didn't have a place to sleep at night. So they would just kind of stand around and chill. So guess what they did? They invented a crime called loitering. So whenever you're loitering, which is literally just standing around, minding your own fucking business, standing in a place, all of a sudden that's criminal. Now that's criminal. So you can make that criminal a slave again. So all the black people that were just standing around, that didn't have jobs and didn't have a place to go, didn't have a place to sleep, they just made them all criminals again by saying that they're loiterers. That's exactly what they've done repeatedly. They did it with fucking vagrancy. They've done it with drugs. They've done it with pants sagging. I think it was in North Carolina or South Carolina. They passed a law stating that you're not allowed to show your underwear. And if you do show your underwear at all, then cops have the right to stop you and ask for your ID and do all this other shit to you and search you. Everything. Like a whole, who the fuck is that attacking? Who is that targeting? You think it's targeting the people that sag their pants a lot? Stop and frisk laws. That was used illegally, or, well, I wouldn't even say illegal. They just fucking used it as a way to be racist. They saw a Hispanic person, they saw a black person, they would go up to them and stop and frisk them. And whether they did something or didn't do anything, doesn't matter. If they saw him for the 20th time, they would still stop that motherfucker and frisk him again. Which is unconstitutional. All of this shit's unconstitutional. I want you to understand that. The broken windows theory that they fucking have done. Broken windows policing. I'm telling you, dude, they do this shit purposefully to make sure that they can continue slavery. Because slavery was never stopped in America. We just changed who the owners were. So the owners of the slaves are now governments, the actual government, whether it's state, federal, local, doesn't matter, city, fucking county. The government owns the slaves. And then they pimp out the slaves to Walmart, AT&T, Victoria's Secret, McDonald's, Whole Foods. That's just 5. I asked for 5 examples and I got 5 examples. I'm pretty sure you could ask for 100 and they would give you 100. These corporations have benefited off of slave labor. They currently, right now in America, currently benefit of slave labor. We never abolished slavery in America. Every time a cop is putting a person in jail and that person is duly convicted of a crime, they're now a slave. Why do you think that the majority of, or the disproportionality of people that are in prison are black? Because this is still a racist system. Okay, I argue about systemic racism and interpersonal racism all the time because the two, like, people get those two things very, very confused. And we've done a lot to fix systemic racism in America as well. But the one place that we haven't, because it's still codified into the fucking Constitution and hasn't actually been fixed or amended yet, is slavery. Straight up fucking slavery. Still fucking exist all day, every day. Every single time a cop arrests a person and that person gets duly convicted of a crime, they are now subject to be a slave. So just understand that. Aside from that, there's more slaves in the world today than there ever has been in the history of the world. More alive today than ever before. So if you really hate slavery and you really want to fight against slavery, you can do that right now. Actively. You just don't, because you don't even realize it's happening still. But it is. Almost all of Dubai has been built on slave labor. Look it up. It's pretty fucking easy to find out. Anyways, Unicor, that's another fucking person or another business that benefits off slave labor. Like, they're the ones that actually contract the slaves to the companies to work for them. So just understand all of this. Okay? The other thing that I would want to talk about is, I don't know if you remember who President Richard Nixon is, but one of his aides, or whoever he was at the time, I'm pretty sure it was one of his aides, straight up said that they couldn't arrest people for protesting the Vietnam War because we have freedom of speech in America, right? So instead, they made pot illegal and started the war on drugs so that they can go after and criminalize every single person who does drugs, because their thought process was, oh, the people who are protesting my war, they all seem to smoke weed. So I'm going to legalize pot, and I'm going to make sure that we go after and arrest everybody for pot now. And that's exactly what they did. Same thing with the crack. They literally made sentencing for crack 10 times worse than white powder because black people were known to do crack while white people were known to do the powder version. It's all written into the system, man. I talk a lot about systemic and interpersonal, like, racism, and this is a perfect example of systemic racism. We've done a great job in America of eliminating actual fucking systemic racism, but this is one where we haven't even fucking touched it. We haven't even tried to touch it because it's written into the fucking law, except as a punishment. So, yes, they started off as slave patrols. Yes, they started as slave catchers. I don't think it ever ended. I think today, in 2024, cops are still slave catchers and still fucking slave patrols. That's what they do. So, if you want to argue with me, awesome. Do it down in the fucking comments. I will gladly take on this argument and die on this hill. But, yeah. The position of being a cop isn't something you should be proud of, in my opinion. And again, if 2 bad cops exist and 100 of them see them be bad cops and do nothing about it, then you have 102 bad cops. they say that, oh, there's just a few bad apples, but they never finish that sentence. The finished sentence is a few rotten apples spoils the whole bunch. So it's a great analogy that they use, but they just forget the rest of the analogy. So anyways, have a good one. I really appreciate you listening if you did.
I can't say that I'm surprised to see this stitch, because I came across his post, if you can recall my video from about 2 weeks ago, and I originally seen the uproar he had caused over on Twitter, and I knew it was just a matter of time, because when I had found his video on this app, he had his stitches turned off, he had the duets turned off, he even had the comments turned off to where you couldn't even leave any kind of remark. But he had already had enough support from his following in the comment sections, and so I went and looked at all of his other videos, and there was an obvious pattern to his content. And I thought to myself, imagine having a position in society where you need to show empathy and concern for your fellow citizens, but instead you choose to harass and poke fun and goof off with your peers and cause more stress to them instead. And so here we are, being taught a lesson by a citizen when it shouldn't have been necessary to begin with. But when people say ACAB or defund the police, it goes over their heads because they don't know what we're talking about. I will say that I believe this position should require more than a 6-month course and a certificate.
Like, seriously, lovelies, when I say that these people know exactly what, they are doing, like, they intentionally do something to get, to get people's reaction, after which they will just delete it and try to see what is going to happen. So this deputy of a man, he decided to make, multiple videos. He's been making a lot of videos, even on X. He's been tweeting and saying all sort of things about how he's being called, racist, and how this is the first time and all of that, and how it's not a thing where he's coming from. He has making multiple, videos of something related to racism and all of that. And this particular video that I staged, I think he deleted it after ranting. And when he deleted the video, he have to make another one talking about how, they did not, let him lose his job, or like they didn't get my job. That means those people will purposely, do a video just to spite people that looks like me. Like, they intentionally, try to create some kind of havoc, try to make you to react, and after which, they delete and listen and try to wait for what you are, going to say. And I just like the fact that his own were actually the one that came for him. So this man has been complaining about how, oh my god, I'm so hot, I was caught reinstated, oh my god, blah blah blah. And after that, he deleted the video, and now he made another video claiming that, they didn't make me delete my video, they didn't make me lose my job. That means you are claiming not to be racist, but you are actually, doing something that is relatable to racists, and you know exactly what you're doing, and you are also calling Oh my goodness. That is why I often say that when they do stuff, like they know that both white privilege, both and cis exists. Like it exists. But the thing is that they don't want people to call it out. They know that people recognize it. They know exactly what they are doing, but they don't want you to call it out. When you call it out, they try to be defensive. They try to make it, they try to twist it at like reverse racist. They try to make it look as if you are the one that is the problem. Like, they have been the one, bringing up all of the racial stars or anything that will get them contradicted or being called stuffs like that. But they don't want you to call it out. They just want to bite their cake and have it, do whatsoever they feel that is right, do, treat you the way that they feel that is right, but do not complain. They will call you names. They want to discriminate against you, but do not complain. Like, this actually reminds me of a video I stitched one time about a brother who decided that he was going to look for a job. Like, there's a video I stitched one time. A brother is I was looking for a job with his name that sounds so African, and he was not able to get these jobs. And he just decided that he was going to like maybe change his surname to that of a Caucasian, sound so Caucasian and all of that. When he did that, it was not even up to a week. He got a call. When he got this call, he accepted to be interviewed online and all of that, but what he did was to sue this company. And now the said company is all around, being so angry. Why would you sue us and all of that? But you guys are the one who rejected someone for bearing an African related name. But when this person now change it to that of the name that suits you guys well, this is when you have to call these people, or this is when you have to call this person for an employment. What does that show you? That shows you the rate at which Ray and Sis that you are. But they don't want you to call. They want the guy to just accept the fact that, okay, I'm a black person, I am not qualified to be in the said position as a black person. And this actually brought me to a question I keep asking myself, that why or how is it that someone's skin color determines someone's level of intelligence or qualification? Just the way at which Crack was talking one time when he was interviewed, and he was talking about how, oh my god, he cannot work a flight that is flown by a black pilot. So automatically, if you're a black pilot, you're unqualified. Then if you, as a pan-colored person who happens to be a pilot that has no or zero experience, you're automatically qualified because the color of your skin. And now look at this man, talking about how, oh my god, he's a man. Probably he has actually accused someone wrongly and all of, they know what they do. And he decided to come up to yell about how he feels so bad when he's being called out his character, or when he's being called out whatever he attributes. And after all of the yelling, he decided to delete the video and make a video again talking about how, oh, these people that I called out was not able to make me lose my job. I'm still holding my job and all of that. And this brought me to a particular pan-colored lady who has employment. I think she has an employment that has to do disability and all of that, happens to be mixed with black people and all that. So she went to her social platform to bake, and she was all using the N-word. And when she was using on her social platform, using it so, oh my goodness, and people were stitching her video, black people cancelled her, and she ended up losing her job. When she lost the job, she have to come out again, started insulting, and oh my god, you made me lose my job. Like, I don't understand. Why would you purposely do something that is wrong, and when you are being counseled about what you know vividly well that was wrong? Because when she was all live and making such statements, people were like, no, you don't have to do that. But she keep on doing whatsoever. She have multiple video where she have to use the N-word, and now she's been cancelled, and now her organization was like, we cannot deal with someone like this. Now she's out yelling, crying, and insulting people, especially people that looks like me, how wicked, and but you, oh my god. And now look at him. These people just breed and think the same. They act and like, seriously. I like the fact that he's used the opportunity to actually educate people, to actually tell the historical of how COP came to be and their job descriptions during the time of slavery and all of that. And the second guy that I staged his video talking about how slave is still something that is in existence. It's still something that is still happening today. It's not totally abolished. That also reminds me of a certain video that circulated all over the social media about this couple who happens to go to this adoption, to adopt black, teenagers. Not only did they adopt them, after adoption, they made them to work in their farms. They made them to work in the plantation. And they locked them up in a kind of a dungeon, like, oh my goodness. And this happened in this 2024. And they say that slavery has been abolished. It has been abolished, but a lot of people are still practicing it. A lot of people are still practicing it. This, couple that did this is so, like, it was something that I was so shocked that in 2024, there is still a case like this that existed. And who knows the ones that have not been revealed. I don't know if you guys actually saw the third video that circulated about a particular couple that decided that it was so right for them to adopt black children and use them for their selfish desires. They got arrested, and I don't really know the update for now. To tell you that it's still existing. It's just that God is just going to help us, God is going to help us. Anyway, lovelies, why not just leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video. And please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. We are just here for educational purposes. And please, if you have not subscribed to this channel, do your girl a huge favor to click on the subscription button, like, and I will see you, lovelies, when I upload.
Do your girl a huge favor to click on the subscription button, like this video, share, leave your thoughts, and I will see you, lovelies, when I upload the next one.